going on, guys, and welcome back to the vlog. Today we're going to be installing a new clutch for the VR-4 project, so let me show you guys that. We did kind of a full unboxing of all the parts going in the VR-4. So we got the new upgraded turbos, we got a big front mount intercooler, and here is our stage 3 clutch from Competition Clutch. So this is the pressure plate here. Looks freaking heavy duty. We got our new clutch disc, which is right here. And we have, of course, the throwout bearing with the clutch alignment tool. So if you've never installed a clutch before, you need one of these tools. Do not start the project without having one of these, or you're gonna be in for a world of hurt later. So you guys will see that later in the video. We'll show you guys how to use that. But today I actually have Josh here. Now, if you remember from the previous VR-4 giveaway, we got Josh in the back.
I found out after working on Mitsubishis for it was probably 15 years into it when they told us they were canceling the VR-4. 99 was the last year model. I was blown away because I worked on those cars. Probably more than 50% of the Mitsubishis were VR-4s.
Yeah.
Turns out they only sold in Southern California.
Really?
So,
you would think that them being all-wheel drive.
So apparently, I probably am one of the most VR-4 experienced technicians. You know,
So whenever tackling a project, especially a big substantial project like a clutch or any drivetrain stuff, I always recommend doing it with someone who has experience doing it. Not because you can't figure it out, but he knows all the little tricks. And I remember the first time we did this together, there's a ton of little intricacies, there's a ton of different processes that if you've never done it on this specific model, that it'll make your life so much harder. So I'm very thankful we have Josh here today. He's done this many times, and he's gonna help us out and make sure it gets done 100% properly. So we got the car all set up. We just kind of have a shipping blanket here just to try to protect the paint. Obviously, we're gonna be rebuffing that anyways. And we'll set you guys up on a tripod and we'll show you guys how it's done. Alright, so you're making some serious progress here. So we got all the exhaust off.
Right along.
Got the drive shaft disc in this. Oh, transfer case is already off. Some of the supporting bracketry. There's the exhaust. And then one of the axles.
One of the axles. I'll take this one off too, just so you don't have to fight it back here.
Okay.
Like as you're guiding the transmission in it, that just makes it that much harder.
Sure. So I remember when we did this the first time, even though you removed a lot of stuff, and it kind of looks like there's room. There's not a lot of room to get this thing in and out of here.
You look back here where the differential is right. I mean, it's a finger away from the subframe right there, and that's what makes it so hard. You got to kind of come in at an angle, and then everything's got to line up and slide in. And tie it.
So what's the next thing you have to do?
The next thing I'm gonna do is take this axle off right here.
Okay.
I'm gonna go up top. Unhook the rest of the stuff up top, the transmission mount.
Okay.
And some electrical things, the shift cables, speedo, and then I'll lift it back up and
start unbolting the tranny bolts.
The bell housing, yeah.
All right. Yeah. Cool. Well, we will keep you guys up to date every step of the way here. Starting to take off the tranny bolts now?
Yeah, I got all of them on the top except for one.
Nice.
This vacuum line thing.
A lot of people do like a vacuum line delete. Do you know anything?
Down, yeah. This thing gets all tweaked. You can see like that tab is supposed to go on this. There's a little.
So you think someone was in here at some point?
I'm sure. Yeah.
All right. So just to give you guys kind of a little update right now, Josh is basically gotten everything else done, and he's starting to remove the transmission bolts from around the bell housing. So I think just finished the top, and now he's working on the bottom, and we're getting the transmission jack kind of all situated. All right, not sure where I was before my memory card filled up, but pretty much at this point right now, we're taking off all the bell housing bolts. We got our tranny jack right here, and that's gonna come in really, really handy. Once all those bolts are removed, kind of pull this thing off and carefully lower the transmission down, and we'll see where we're at. All right, so Josh has figured out how to safely attach the transmission to this. So we might have a leak from one of the valve cover gaskets or something like that. It's a little hard to see. When we get the trans off, we'll take a look. But we're gonna be planning on replacing those anyway, so.
Get it? So close. Very tight. Yeah.
Two hours later.
Step in the office for just a few minutes, and Josh got it out finally. So that was a lot more trouble than we had hoped. But the good news is that it's off, it's on the ground safely.
I'm thinking that we'll take a really good look at these mounts. The front mount at the radiator, or the right mount, whatever you want to call it, because it's on the right side if you're looking at the timing belt. But maybe this mount is, maybe everything is
tweaked or just,
it just seemed a little bit low. Like, that flywheel looks really awesome. You can still see the machining swirl marks on it. Looks really good though. I usually clean them with brake cleaner because you can see little hairline cracks. I mean, this thing looks so good. I can seriously doubt any cracks, and it doesn't even have a hot spot on it. It still feels all right. So nobody put any kind of, I like to put like that gold anti-seize looking stuff on where the throwout bearing rides right here. Just a little bit, and there's a little indent in the middle of the throwout bearing, usually a little indent. I like to wipe a little grease in there. That's what makes the clutch hard to push in. This gets really gummy and gooey, or someone just assembles it dry, and after a period of time, this starts binding, the inside of this is binding on this, and it really trips people out when their clutch finally wears out and they've had a real hard time pushing it in, and they go get another clutch and it's really easy. And they almost feel like something's wrong, like you put an inferior clutch in or something. No, it's the bearing. It's just that this got lubed and cleaned up, or replaced if it gets damaged. But that's usually what makes the clutch hard to push in, especially on these 3000 GTs, and you never machine the flywheel on these cars. When you machine the flywheel, it changes the working angle of the clutch. And now this has to go out a lot more to disengage the clutch, and sometimes the back of this will touch here. I mean, everything's really tight on these cars, and there's actually a technical service bulletin from Mitsubishi telling you never to machine the flywheel. There's the clutch came out.
Because this was so hard to get out, it actually took Josh quite a while, a lot longer than he normally anticipated. Not exactly sure why, it was just a really difficult thing to do. So anyways, we're gonna set the camera down now, and I will check back in with you guys tomorrow morning. So by the magic of editing, that's just gonna be in 1 second. Here we go. All right guys, so day 2 of the VR-4 clutch install. Now the first thing that I need to do today, as some of you guys probably have already mentioned and pointed out, the transmission on this car is extremely dirty. So I picked up some engine degreaser and just sprayed this down right now. I'm gonna be using a brush and probably the power washer outside to really try to remove all this grime. The underside of this car was actually coated with some kind of undercoating. So that's what some of this is, but a lot of this looks like remains of an old oil leak, maybe from the valve cover gaskets, which we're gonna be replacing anyways. So before Josh gets here, I'm gonna see if I can clean up this transmission and maybe get off the valve covers. And I think Ricky's coming in today to help me on this project. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done. This thing is gonna basically get torn down completely and then rebuilt. So enough talking, let's just get to work. Guys, well, about 45 minutes has passed and I just finished cleaning the transmission to the best of my ability. I am soaking wet. Let me show you guys what it looks like. So it's about 90% better. Hopefully you guys can see that. I got 90% of the grease and the stuff off. There's a couple spots that are a little hard to get to, which I may try to get like a wire wheel. And then I also sprayed the inside and got a lot of that stuff off as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and wipe everything down, dry this thing off, air blow it, and then it will be ready to be reinstalled. So overall, messy job, but I like doing all these little things, especially knowing that we're gonna be giving this car away in a month. I wanna make sure that everything is nice and clean, and therefore if there is a leak or something, it's easy to identify. If you guys ever worked on a car where, you know, there's leaks everywhere, it's so hard to find out where the root cause is. So whenever something is out, especially as big as a transmission, just clean it thoroughly, and then if there's a leak, you'll be able to find it. All right, so a couple hours have passed since our last check-in, and looks like we're changing directions with this project. So after looking kind of where the positions of the turbos are, we're also gonna be taking out that dent on the oil pan. I know a bunch of you guys have been commenting on that. And what Josh just noticed is actually the tensioner on the timing belt is not looking so good. So he recommended for us to do the timing belt and water pump right now, which is one of those things that you have to do. If you don't do it, you risk having total failure, the timing jumping a tooth or something like that, and just bending all of your valves and having a big problem. Now, there's one thing that I want to mention to you guys. If you ever buy a used car, the previous owner said that he had just done the timing belt and water pump, and that was a total lie. So, Ripperino, it's okay. We want to make sure whoever gets this car is getting a car that is well maintained and that is ready to be driven and to be driven hard. So I'm okay with it. Obviously, we're gonna go order some parts right now. So what we decided is we're actually gonna pull the engine. That seems to be the better course of action, and that way we'll have access to everything super, super easy. We'll be able to bolt the turbos on, we'll be able to do the oil pan, we'll be able to put the transmission back on and not have to battle it trying to get it back into that tight location. So stay tuned, guys. There's gonna be a lot of cool time lapses. I'm gonna get the camera all set up for Josh, and we'll start this process. And this is the dent in the oil pan that everyone keeps commenting out. So once the motor's out, we're gonna pull off the oil pan and we'll pound that back down. I wanna see what the pickup looks like in there. I wanna see how close it is.
No big deal.
Check this out. That's what you need. We're doing the oil pan, we're doing the turbos, we're doing the transmission, we're doing the timing belt, water pump, tensioner, and just pulling the motor is gonna make our lives, actually it's gonna be easier, because once this motor's either on the air or on the engine stand, we should be able to put the transmission on really easily. We should be able to do that, have access to the turbos and the timing belt and everything. So, oh, and the valve covers too, we're doing those too. So Josh has been crushing it out here. Where do you pick it up
We might need to use some bolts.
Oh, right
There's
here.
this tab and that tab right there.
We told Mickey we were gonna have this thing done when he got back on Sunday.
Now, if I can get lucky and find nuts.
These nuts. You know what people are swapping into these cars very common now is the Eclipse GSX.
Oh, really?
Or G63.
Yeah.
That company makes a mount kit. We had thought about doing it, and it's, you know, it's a 4-cylinder.
Yeah,
but
those
they
motors
make a lot of power.
Scream though,
Yeah.
dude. I love that motor.
That's the business right there.
Right.
Hey. That was the back bolt.
Probably roll this guy. Yeah. Try to pull the whole thing back a little bit. There we go. Everything looks disconnected. Yeah,
Nice and easy. Nice and slow. There she is. It's okay to sit on the oil pad, or you're just gonna leave it?
I'm gonna leave it suspended a little bit like that. And
all right, so as you guys can see, the engine is out of the car. Josh is actually gonna start removing the timing belt components so we can just kind of take a look at anything. And we just started ordering some of the parts, overnighting some of the parts. So we should have them in just a couple of days. But how's it looking so far? You're getting the crank?
yeah, we just got the harmonic balancer off, some of the belt
So
tensioner
remove
stuff.
the timing
Now
covers
I'm gonna
here.
Take off the timing covers. Reorganize.
So we've got a new OEM timing belt kit, the tensioner, the idler pulley, and the water pump coming in for the car. So while everything's out, we're gonna do all of the maintenance to make sure this thing is nice and safe. And it's gonna give us, as you can see, a lot more access to our front and rear turbos. So we felt this was the best course of action. Now we have access to literally everything. We're also going to be doing the oil pan too. So we're going to take off the oil pan, pound out that dent at the bottom, and it just makes our life a lot easier.
How sloppy that belt is in the middle.
And that's because the tensioners failed, basically.
Yeah, and we'll see it in just a minute here. There it goes. Another thing you really got to look for when you do a timing belt on one of these, especially in the car,
Ooh, what's that?
is these are the little rubber parts like this. And they get all crusty and dry rotted. So this probably went on here somewhere. They get all crusty and dry
And they
rotted,
fall
and
in
they
there?
fall in there, and it will get caught up in between. Here we have the hydraulic tensioner, and you should see a space between this metal part and the tip of the tensioner, and you can see a tiny little hole right there, and there's actually a little thing like a grenade pin, you call it. It's like a piece of coat hanger, and when you set up the timing belt properly, after it's all put together, you should be able to slide that thing in and out. There should be about 1/8 inch of space, 1/4 inch of space between those two. So that is why, as it sits, the tensioner will bleed down, and then you get all this space right here. Very, very easily it can skip time.
Yeah, that's really, really loose.
Yeah, I'm really glad we actually looked at that.
All right, guys, I think we're gonna end today's video here. That was crazy. That was a big turn of events. Originally, we were just gonna do the clutch, but I think this was an overall better plan. We're doing a lot more maintenance. We're getting this motor, hopefully you can hear me. We're getting this motor really, really dialed in for the next owner. So if you guys like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Remember, someone's taking home this car in 30 days. So if you wanna get entered to win, all of the important links are always in the video description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.